Post Malone may have just bought the most expensive non-sports trading card of all time. Most of you would have seen this by now, and it relates to the Magic the Gathering trading card that has basically been the buzz of the hobby for the last few months. He bought this from the guy for $2.6 million. It's changed the dude's life. There's a few things I want to talk to on this, including, why it's such an amazing thing for the person who hit this card in the box, and also what this might mean, for the values of sports cards moving forward. Now, I open this by saying I believe this to be the most expensive non-sports trading card of all time. I'm fairly certain that is accurate. If I remember correctly, the most expensive card was the Illustrator Pokemon card, which is on screen right now and sold for, I think, under $1 million USD. Given that this sold for 2.6 million, I think that puts it well in the lead. Now, someone can correct me if I'm wrong down in the comments below. But this is, such an amazing, situation for this individual. He just seems to be an average dude, average Joe, who decided to buy a box of cards and now has essentially had his life change. And this is, the really cool stuff about this hobby that, not only is collecting fun, but you get to see somebody that I'm about to show you in this video, experience all the emotions that one would expect them to. Now, this is the video in question here that basically was filmed for press purposes at the show that he bought the card from. Post Malone's joking around that he's like, yeah, I'll take the card, shakes his hand, and just watch the emotion on the guy's face, because I think this thing is pretty cool. You can see that he's in sort of tears, right? Because all of a sudden he's getting, $2.6 million. His life is literally changed off the back of opening a box of trading cards, which I think is absolutely amazing. To give you a bit of backstory about this card, if you guys weren't aware, if you're purely a sports card collector, it was basically a new release by Magic the Gathering, who's owned by Hasbro, Wizards of the Coast, and they firstly put a 1 of 1 in there for the first time ever, right? And because this was such a cool looking set, i.e. it was tied into Lord of the Rings, you had a lot of people really interested in this. A few people and card stores were putting bounties on this card. I think the largest bounty we saw was $2 million. BGS even came out and announced this. That would have been a really cool, unique label for this card. The person who now sold the card to Post Malone decided to grade it with PSA instead. It's just a really cool, situation. Now, some people will be seeing this and saying, okay, well, does this mean now that, Magic the Gathering cards might see an uptick in prices? Sure, that might be the case. I think this is going to be really good for Hasbro themselves in terms of their, share price, because they've taken a battering over the last, 2 years, I want to say. But will this be something that triggers, a new floor within the hobby, i.e. raise all the prices to a point now where they won't fall further? I'm not entirely sold on that situation, to be honest. When we've seen big records being broken in the sports card space outside of, the boom from 2020 until 2022, they haven't really had that much of an impact. And I think given that this card is so unique to Magic the Gathering, i.e. it's the only ever 1 of 1, I don't think it's going to, change things drastically is what I'm trying to say. Now, where I think this will create change and where it probably is better for us as collectors is that Magic might see this, and Wizards of the Coast might see this, I should say, and say, well, this was so successful. We've seen a lot of buzz within our community. We're seeing more people maybe buying product. Let's introduce a few more of them. Now, the concern here that Hasbro has taken over the past, and you can watch guys like Alpha Investments who talks about this kind of thing all the time, is that they'll probably double down and overprint this stuff to death, right? Where I hope they don't do that. I hope they sort of see this and have a bit of restraint, which again, I just touched on, is not a common thing for Wizards of the Coast over the last few years. But if they can, sort of keep this stuff scarce and rare, then you're going to see people excited to chase this stuff in the future. One of the big issues that we've had in the sports card space, probably since 2018 onwards, is the consistent increase in populations of cards year on year, right? Every year it just gets worse and worse and worse. There's more parallels, more numbered cards, more 1 of 1s. Just stuff just keeps getting printed to death, and it sort of loses what was special about collecting those cards in the first place. I just, really hope Hasbro don't go down that path. Wizards of the Coast don't go down that path. So I'm really keen to get your thoughts on this one down in the comments below. Like I said, it was just a very quick video I wanted to put together to talk about this because, just seeing the emotion on that guy's face was just amazing to me. Now that's that may sound a bit beta or whatever you want to say, but that's what is so cool about card collecting, and just to have a guy give it an opportunity now to change his life, to change the life of his family, give his kids, if he has any, or kids in the future, a better life than maybe he would have had I think is freaking amazing just off the back of one card. And I think it's also really cool that it's gone to someone like Post Malone, who is, you know, a nerd, right? And he's an advocate for being a nerd, and he's happy to be a nerd, and to sort of see it get in the hands of somebody that's probably going to appreciate it, I think is really freaking awesome. So, you know, please share your thoughts down below. Like I said, again, I'll repeat myself, I'm not sure if this is going to actually move the needle all that much for non-sports cards, i.e. TCG prices and all that sort of stuff, but I think it's cool nonetheless, and something that's worthy of talking about. One thing I will ask you all, if you want to drop down in the comments below, what would you do with that $2.6 million? If you were the one to hit this card, what would you do with that? How would that change your life? You know, for me personally, it would be something as simple as my wife never having to work again, right? I'm happy to keep working. It'd be awesome to have my wife just stay at home and sort of raise the kids. So that's sort of what I would do in this instance. So let me know what you would do. But that's sort of it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers.